Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, it was like a bad but still semi-amusing comedy film come to life. Federal authorities, taking a quick break from chasing after Russian Facebook trolls, have exposed a very large nationwide effort by actors, lawyers, private equity moguls to game the college admissions process, to cheat. And it worked. Suddenly, unimpressive students became geniuses, totally uncoordinated. Video game players became crew captains or legendary pole vaulters. Some people even fabricated new racial identities to get into school. Amazing. Trace Gallagher has the details for us tonight. Trace?
Tucker, late today, a federal judge here in Los Angeles agreed to release actress Lori Loughlin on a $1 million bond. She and her fashion designer husband, Massimo Giannulli, are charged with paying $500,000 to have their two daughters recruited for the University of Southern California crew team, despite neither girl knowing how to row. And now USC says all applicants connected to this cheating scheme will be denied, and those already in school will be reviewed, meaning Loughlin's 19-year-old daughter, Olivia Jade, a YouTube star, could be kicked out of SC. Meantime, the hammer is also coming down on coaches and athletic departments. The charity foundation of Rick Singer, the ringleader of the whole scam, who already pleaded guilty, shows payments of $338,000 to the NYU athletic department and $546,000 to the University of Texas athletic department. There's also a $100,000 contribution to a mysterious Princeville enterprise, which coincidentally shares the same address as UCLA's former soccer coach. So far, coaches and other athletic personnel have now been fired or suspended at USC, Stanford, Wake Forest, University of Texas, Georgetown, Yale, and UCLA. In other words, this scheme was a pay to not play. Finally, the people who cheated to inflate SAT and ACT test scores are also being rounded up. Tucker.
Trace Gallagher. Amazing, yet not surprising. Well, 2 years ago, actress Lori Loughlin appeared on NBC on the Today Show and delivered one of those entirely staged yet seemingly intimate moments that publicists refer to as humanizing. Loughlin's daughter was going off to college, and Loughlin wanted us to know that she might be a famous actress with a team of image consultants and personal stylists on call. But on some level, she's just like the rest of us.
So many parents watching, I'm sure, are going through this, where they're about to watch a child go off to college. Kath, it happened to you.
Yeah, it's hard.
Are you preparing for it in any way?
I think I'm in complete denial.
Yeah?
I really am, because when I think about it too much, it will make me cry.
Really?
So I got to stop.
It makes me cry, just like the rest of us. But in fact, Lori Loughlin is not like the rest of us. Her kids got into college because she and her husband bribed their way in, taking the spots of kids who worked hard and foolishly believed, it turns out, that the system was not rigged. And how about those kids, Lori Loughlin's kids? Were they grateful for the advantage they received? Here's one of her daughters explaining how she feels about going to the University of Southern California.
And then the whole college thing, yep, I'm going. I'm living in a dorm with a roommate. I do want the experience of like game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys all know.
The whole college thing. I don't really care about school. Of course she doesn't. Her parents don't care about school either. None of the parents who supported this elaborate fraud care about school. They care only about the credentials that school confers. The school part of school means less every year. The liberal arts curriculum in America has become a grotesque joke. Even the people who make a living from it know that very well. Humanities professors may be the single most cynical people in this country. The sociology of Miley Cyrus, critical text and white privilege, women's studies. They're mocking us. They've got to be. This is pop art, not education. Nobody's pretending otherwise anymore. Yet even as academia descends deeper into absurdity and irrelevance, college degrees have become more valuable than ever. In modern America, only a small percentage of the population succeeds in the end. And the pathway to that success, to the world you read about on the internet, runs through a relatively small number of elite universities. A ruling class claims legitimacy based on the fact that they have degrees from those places. It's all completely fair, they tell us. They're in charge because they won the great meritocratic competition and got into Yale. You're not in charge because you didn't. But of course, they're lying to you. They were never playing by the same rules. Ironically, it was in fact Felicity Huffman who best explained how it actually worked, back when she acted in Desperate Housewives. Watch this.
Sir, Mrs. Scov, Rules are rules. I can't put him back on the team.
Just one more game.
Wish I could help.
Art mimics life. Your kids take high-stakes standardized tests that measure their ability for good or bad. People like Felicity Huffman certify their children with bogus disabilities to get extra time on the test, or they just pay someone else to take the test. Your kids have to practice the sport for years to get the attention of college coaches. Their kids just pay some fixer to transform them into soccer superstars and pole vaulting prodigies. Your kids must submit to quotas and affirmative action. They're punished on the basis of their sex or skin color. And we're told this has to be done. We must do this to offset their privilege, the blood guilt they bear for the bad behavior of others generations before they were even born. That's what they tell us. Please. If you fall for that lie, it means you really don't have any privilege, because people with actual privilege have the knowledge, the money, the connections to make certain that the quota system doesn't hurt them, it benefits them. Elizabeth Warren did it. She lied about her race. That's how she got tenure at Harvard. Now Warren says she has no sympathy for the people who got caught playing the same game she did.
So as a parent, how much sympathy would you have for these parents who are embroiled in this alleged cheating scandal?
Zero.
Zero.
Well, the indictments that just came out don't even touch the greatest scandal of all, and that's how the mediocre children of the politically powerful on both sides take top spots at top schools without even resorting to bribery. They get it for free. They're just awarded them for the achievement of being born. That's how Chelsea Clinton wound up at Stanford and Oxford, and then a hedge fund and McKinsey, and then on various boards of big companies, and then making documentary films nobody ever watched, all without having a single original thought ever in her life. You know what that is? That's an aristocracy disguised as a meritocracy. It's a scam. Too few have been punished for it. In this case, only parents, athletic coaches, and a few university advisors have been indicted. No actual admissions officials have been named. As far as we know, none have even been punished. And that's a joke. They knew what was going on. They had to know. What the rest of us don't know, but should know, is how the college admissions process actually works. What are the rules of it? What are the criteria? Who gets in and why? Those are the key questions in the whole chain, from birth to world domination. And yet no one will reveal what the recipe is. Like all systems built on secrecy and deceit, it's opaque. It should not be opaque. We pay for all of this, all of higher education, directly through tuition, and then indirectly billions in tax dollars, direct or in federally backed student loans. We have a right to know. So open the doors, bring in the sunlight. Let's see their books. College is too important to be this corrupt. Bradley Campbell is a sociologist, co-author of the book The Rise of Victimhood Culture, and he joins us now. Bradley, thanks very much for coming on. So who is the victim in all this, in this scam?
The victims are certainly the students who are not getting places in these schools because people are cheating. That's one of the victims. And I think, I look at it two ways. One is as a professor and somebody who teaches students, and then also as a sociologist who studies these kinds of hoaxes and things. But my first reaction is just as a professor, and also as someone who did not go to an elite college myself. I don't teach at an elite college now. I teach at Cal State Los Angeles. And if you look at elite colleges, Ivy League universities, we find the children of elites, of wealthy people, already very overrepresented. There are 38 colleges, including 5 of the Ivy Leagues, where there are more students from families of the top 1% of income than the bottom 60%. So that's the kind of disparities you're talking about. And you have the students I teach at Cal State Los Angeles aren't from anywhere close to the top 1% of income, and they work hard. Many of them are trying to raise families while they're pursuing their education, working jobs, and all these things. And so it's on a personal level to see that, and it's just outrageous to think of people who are gaming the system and getting ahead of people who are trying to work. College is still a pathway to success for many people, and it's a very hard one for many people who have all kinds of other responsibilities and things going on. We could fix this instantly.
People trust the outcome of sporting events because they watch them on TV. It's transparent. You know what happens. You know who won. Increasingly, people know that the whole gateway to the ruling class is controlled by the ruling class, and it prevents lots of people from entering on unfair criteria. So why not just tell us exactly how people are getting in, what the standards are for getting in? Why not open the books of the admissions departments at those 38 schools you just mentioned?
Yeah, there's not much transparency always in how in the admissions process, and it's very, even for people who may be highly qualified and have good applications, it can still be kind of a crapshoot. That's why you have such competition, with the people and the efforts to cheat. I think of it in this way: there are always people who are out there trying to cheat, trying to game the system, who will do things like this. But what does it reveal when it happens about the system? How are people getting ahead? And I think like there's a tiny bit of good news in that some of it is paying people to take tests and things. So test scores and those kinds of things do matter somewhat. If we're thinking about is there a meritocracy? There's not completely, but it's not that merit has nothing to do with how people getting in. But at the same time, you see these other things. You see sports being so important, where people are paying to get on rosters of soccer teams and these things. You see all these other factors that are important. And even when people aren't cheating, it's the rich that and wealthy people who have advantages there. They can pay for their children's extracurricular activities. They have the time to do it. They can pay for their personal statements and all these other things that matter in college admissions.
Well, of course. And in this case, you had kids who, had only played Fortnite, were pretending to be, star bobsledders or something. And it was literally dishonest. Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.